Freedom needs to be put back together. We need to think of it as a unit, that the individual is important, and that governing comes locally. Governing comes, we must govern our own lives. We must govern within our families and our local community and our churches. It's not that people want to call us anarchists and we don't want any rules and regulations. I was on a radio station just 2 nights ago, and it was a very liberal radio station. They were very nice and they let me explain, but they just couldn't understand this economic issue. They just had to have these regulations. They couldn't get it in through their mind because they do care about poor people. I think most of them have humanitarian concerns. But if they would only look at these statistics and show what happens when people allow the government to make the decisions. If you have somebody with central economic planning, they make the decision, usually wrong, it hurts all of us. Now, if we make individual choices or local government choices, they're not always going to be right. We live in an imperfect world. We're all imperfect, so we make mistakes. So that means we want to limit the damage done by those mistakes. And the market is so wonderful in sorting all this out. The market we don't like to use the word democracy because there's the wrong connotation of that. But the market is democratic in the sense that it's the ultimate vote. The free market is designed not to protect big labor, not to protect big business, not to protect big government, not to protect the banks or internationals. The free market is designed for the most important purpose of taking care of the consumer. And everybody is a consumer. And every time you spend a penny, used to be said a penny, now I guess you have to spend $1 to count it. Every time you spend any money at all, you're voting. And if you have a free market, it's a tough business. Because if you're in business and they don't like your product or your cost is too high, you'll go out of business. Instead of everybody being propped up and diluted into low interest rates and guarantees and all this moral risk, moral hazard that we create through the monetary system, that stuff would be individualized, and companies would come and go, and there would be individual places where this would happen, but overall, the consumer would always be protected. And just as we protect individual liberty, the market protects the consumer. And this is where prosperity would come from. Freedom is something that has been only tried recently in the history of the world. And because through the thousands and thousands of years of recorded history, true freedom has only been tried, several hundred years in a serious way. And the prosperity has been unbelievable. And here we are about to reject this experiment with liberty. And yet this is where the prosperity came from. But the neat part about the recognition of individual freedom, and this is not only economic, what it does, it allows the release of all creative energy that man has. That he then becomes a creative person, and all this creativity comes together and meshes together. No economic planner could do that. And that is what is so wonderful about it. And the recognition of that this is a God-given right to your liberties, and that it sort of reminds me of the parable that you really don't have to fret, and that that we will be taken care of. That little parable doesn't say that we can't and shouldn't work, but if we do the right things, we really don't have to fret about it. And that's why I was saying that if we had our liberties and sound money, I wouldn't worry about tomorrow. I think we could take care of ourselves, and we could take care of our planet as well too. Under these circumstances, it's a tremendous environmental thing as well, because you have no right to pollute your neighbor's property. People who own their property always take better care of their property than when the government owns the property. Just think of the ultimate example of socialism was communism, and the environmental protection was atrocious. And all you have to do is compare what government land looks like to privately owned land. So there are so many arguments for this, and I really don't need to sell you on this because you already know this. But what we need to be energized for is the activity that has been coming about. Although I have been motivated to push the Campaign for Liberty organization, it actually, for legal and other reasons, is run by other people. And John Tate and Debbie Hopper and all the people doing all this work, and all of you who have all participated. And every day I hear of spontaneous things that people are doing. This is like a wildfire spreading, but this is a wonderful, positive wildfire. And it is spreading around the country, and it's growing, and we will have an influence. So it is us to remain totally energized and continue to do this. And we can't be discouraged because Congress is going to vote another stimulus bill next week. Because when the time comes, they will come to us and ask us. They have to, because they don't have the answers. They can't come up with a new paper currency. And they've done this in the past, and they've had to resort to sound money. So they will come if we appear to have the answer. So the recommendation is that we study hard. I study every single day. I still read Mises and Rothbard, trying to understand better explanations of the marketplace, because a lot of people do ask me questions. And I want to learn it and understand it. So if you learn and study and make yourself available to solving these problems, somebody will use you. There will be a guiding hand. People are asking me every day. They'll come to my office, young kids. Oh, I love what you say. This is great, great, great. I want to do what you did. Tell me how to be a congressman. And I tell them one thing. Don't set your goal to be a congressman. It may end up that way. And I always tell the story about when I first decided to run for Congress many, many years ago. And I was in a very busy medical practice, but I was really energized by that breakdown of Bretton Woods. So in 1974, I told my wife I was going to run for Congress. And she said, well, what in the world would you want to do that for? I said, I just want to talk about things, you know. I said in 1974, what Republican would ever want to run in 1974 in a Watergate year? So she said, well, it could be dangerous. I said, how in the world could it be dangerous? All I'm going to do is go out and talk about it. She said, well, it's dangerous. You could end up getting elected. But I guaranteed her that wouldn't happen. I'm staying here at home. And, you know, just the other day, one of my sons, who is now a physician, told me, he says, Dad, he said, I never told you this, but I really worried about that when you ran for Congress. He says, I thought you would leave and I would never see you again, or we'd have to move to Washington and all these things, which never even crossed my mind about that. But, no, the goal shouldn't be, you don't know what the exact goal is. Somebody might end up running for Congress, and that's okay. But I don't want people thinking at the age of 18 their goal is to be in Congress. Their goal ought to be to understand what freedom is all about, what our history is all about, and what our Constitution means.